Probably one of the most important principles is that cattle's thermal neutral zone, which really just means the range and temperature in which they're comfortable is widely variable. And you can imagine, it's just common sense, you know, if an animal has a winter hair coat, a heavy winter hair coat, they can withstand a lot more cold. If an animal's hide is wet, they can't stand very much cold. I mean, they'll be stressed, cold stressed, if their hide is wet, even if they do have a winter hair coat, because a wet coat doesn't do you any good. Let's say a cow has a dry, heavy, she's dry, she has a heavy winter hair coat, down to 20 degrees or so, she's really comfortable. Things that, you know, I think are just kind of practical ways to adjust to extreme conditions are simply, first of all, provide them with a place to get out of the wind. You know, and that can be natural cover in the trees or whatever, or a windbreak or some sort of a building. Secondly, if there's an extended extreme cold and wind in the wintertime, you know, feed better quality hay. You know, their water requirements when it's cold are not as high, obviously, as they are in the summertime, but they still need to be able to drink. So if there's not snow on the ground, it's extremely cold, somebody needs to be responsible for cutting the ice if it's not a, you know, if it's not a rural water system, or if it's not a moving stream. Well, so one thing you can do that, you know, may be an option for some people over an extended period of extremely cold and extremely windy conditions is put out some bedding. So unroll a bale of straw so the cattle can kind of get down in the straw, and that provides a, you know, considerable amount of relief from the wind.
We're here with our extension equine specialist, Kris Hiney. And Kris, we just spoke with Dave Lalman about cattle in winter, so let's move to horses. What are some things that producers need to think about with horses in winter?
Sure. So most horses can tolerate winter pretty easily if you've allowed them to adapt to winter, essentially grow a winter hair coat, be out in the temperatures. And if the temperatures do drop pretty low, we do know that horses will need extra energy so that they can maintain their body temperature.
So one thing that people do need to think about, though, is their water source. Talk a little bit about what are some things they do need to think about with that.
Sure. So it's really important in the winter that horses maintain their water intake, and horses don't really like icy cold water, so they may actually drop their water intake in the winter, which can be pretty negative as far as health effects. So we want to make sure they always have fresh, open water. A lot of people will use tank heaters or bucket heaters, but the big important thing with those is to make sure that there isn't any stray voltage. Horses are extremely sensitive to electricity, and they can almost learn to fear their water, which can be extremely detrimental. So one thing that we need to think about is older horses, or geriatric horses, as their teeth wear down, they actually may become more sensitive to cold, and so your older horses may actually drop their intake of water in the winter just because it doesn't feel very good.
So while horses will adapt to the cold, producers do need to think about having shelter for horses, you know, out of the wind, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Horses need to have shelter from the wind and rain. Freezing rain on a horse can chill them really, really rapidly, so that's the ideal scenario, is we have something that blocks wind and rain from them.
Alrighty, thanks, Kris. If you'd like some more information on cattle and horses in the winter, go to our website, sunup.okstate.edu.